Aha. That's damning. I think I'll come back to this, but that he just said everything that we need to know about him to not take him seriously on more or less any subject ever. He's just completely disqualified himself. Hey everyone, today I've got a response video for you. I'm going to be watching Piers Morgan interviewing a vegan activist from Animal Rebellion.
Well, hungry vegans targeted Big Ben today, spraying white paint outside the Houses of Parliament ahead of Liz Truss's first Prime Minister's questions. The Animal Rebellion protest group says the white paint symbolises milk and was intended to represent the destruction of the dairy industry. Also represents, of course, petulant vandalism and the destruction of a historic building. It's the fourth day of action from the group. They've also cleared milk from the shelves of supermarkets in 4 different cities. They say they're aiming to force Liz Truss to the negotiating table, but are they in fact just annoying the hell out of all of us?
Okay, so firstly, let me be very clear. I do not agree with this kind of protest. This is vandalism. I don't think it's justified. I think that the vegan argument can be made purely on its rational merits. It doesn't need such attention grabbing. Although drawing attention to it is certainly a good thing, but I think this is the wrong way to go about it. Here's a line from the late, great Christopher Hitchens talking on the subject of atheism versus religion, but I think the sentiment applies here for veganism as well.
And indeed, I think it's quite important that we share with Sophocles and other pre-monotheists a revulsion to desecration or to profanity, that we don't want to see churches desecrated or
no, indeed not.
Religious icons trashed and so forth.
Yeah. Well, joining me now is a spokesman for Animal Rebellion, Orla Coghlan, who was at the protest at Big Ben earlier today. Good evening to you.
I kind of missed that. Orla Coghlan, I think, is her name. Henceforth, I will refer to her as Orla. I hope I'm getting that right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Why would chucking paint all over Big Ben persuade someone like me to give up meat?
Okay, so firstly, it's not about persuading people to give up meat, it's about awareness. There is a distinct difference there.
Yeah, so as you and your viewers probably know, we're in a climate and ecological emergency at the moment. And so what we're doing is we're asking the government to support farmers and fishing communities in a transition to a plant-based food system, because we know that animal agriculture is a leading cause of the climate crisis. And so if we transition to a plant-based food system, we can free up vast amount of land in the UK, we can rewild and we can draw carbon down.
Okay, look, that's all fine. That wasn't my question. My question is, why does chucking paint over Big Ben, why does desecrating Trafalgar Square with red dye, chucking milk around Harrods, destroying supermarket shelves and so on, how does that persuade me, who already likes eating meat? Why are you going to persuade me by being a vandal?
Well, firstly, he hasn't let her answer the question properly. He's interrupted her. But secondly, it's not about persuasion. Before you can persuade anyone, you need to get their attention. And so the point of this activism, I still maintain that I don't agree with this kind of activism. It is about getting attention and making people interested, wondering, what the hell are they doing? And then when they look into it, they might go, oh, well, they actually have a point. That's the purpose of this, as I understand it.
Yeah, I think we're in an incredibly difficult position at the moment because we've been...
Why are you making it any easier?
Because we've been trying to talk about these things now for a very long time. And so we're at a point where we need to escalate protest so we can gain more media attention on the subject and we can bring
I don't know anyone you
table.
persuade. I haven't heard anyone go, you know what, I was a meat eater and I saw Big Ben being desecrated, this great monument of this country, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go and give up meat and start eating gruel. I haven't heard a single human being say that. Why would they?
I don't know what gruel is. I've never heard of it, and I've been vegan for 7 years. So you don't have to eat gruel, as far as I'm aware. This is one of the tactics that Piers employs, and it's partly what makes him so successful, is he draws people in with his kind of boisterousness and his norm violations. And he's kind of rude then to his guests, which I think is unprofessional and unjustified. If his arguments were valid or sound in their own regard, he could just present them. He wouldn't have to present such straw man arguments.
Say that. Why would they?
I think the purpose of protest is not necessarily to win over people. It's to bring these...
To annoy us?
To bring these important conversations to the table.
Like, he knows that the purpose of protest is not to annoy people. He knows that's not the reason, yet that's what he says. I mean, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here that he's smart enough to know that the purpose of protest is to draw attention to issues, not to annoy people into conforming.
Yeah, but we know the conversation. You're a vegan, right? I'm a meat eater. Why can't we just both live happily in each other's orbit? Why can't you let me just get on with eating meat and you eat your gruel and we'll all go home happy?
Because we know animal farming and fishing are a leading cause of the climate crisis.
And we know having a strictly vegan diet is bad for you as well.
Well, that's not true.
A lot of science says it's bad for you.
That's not true.
It is true.
Okay. There's 2 points to make here. Why can't vegans and non-vegans cohabit? Well, firstly, we do. We do. We just engage in dialectic or debate or argumentation, however you want to put it, to progress our moral faculty forward. We want to find a state in which all people consider animals to be worthy of moral standing. That is, that we apply the moral law that we apply to other humans to animals as well, because there's no reason why we shouldn't. To answer Pierce's question, we do cohabit, but the animals are the people that are being violated. Oh, it's not me. Why can't we just ignore it? Well, because there is a victim, quite simply. The animals are a victim. And vegans are not willing to stand for this.
This aggression will not stand, man.
Climate
And we
crisis.
know having a strictly vegan diet is bad for you as well.
Well, that's not true.
A lot of science says it's bad for you.
That's not true.
It is true.
Okay, this is ridiculous. We know a vegan diet can be bad for you. Well, a vegan diet can be bad for you, but it can also be very good for you. A non-vegan diet can be bad for you. If you only eat fried food and no vegetables, it's going to be bad for you, right? So this is a ridiculous argument. A whole food plant-based diet is widely considered to be a very healthy diet. I believe it's the only diet that is shown to reduce signs of coronary heart disease. I mean, that's a significant point in favor of a plant-based diet, but there's a distinction between a plant-based diet and a vegan diet. A plant-based diet is more restrictive and it's more healthy, and it's focused on health, whereas a vegan diet is not focused on health, it's focused on ethics. And this is a distinction that Piers is, I think, quite oblivious to. I've lived on a plant-based diet for 6 years. As far as I can tell, I'm healthy. My doctor thinks I'm healthy. My partner's been vegan for a lot longer than that. There are plenty of people around who are living evidence that a plant-based diet is perfectly a viable diet for human beings. So he makes that point too. Science says. You notice you never hear scientists saying that science says. You only hear people who just appeal to science like it's an authority that they personally don't understand.
What do you eat?
I eat...
Do you eat almonds? Do you drink almond milk? Eat almonds?
I think you're digressing from
I'm just asking a question.
the big issue
I'm just
here.
curious what you eat. Would you eat almonds?
I'm here to talk about the climate crisis.
Answer my question.
It's interesting, this disparity, this disagreement that I have with climate vegans. You know, I totally, all power to them. I think they're doing a good thing. The big issue being the climate. Now, arguably it is. Without the climate, there's no life that continue. It's kind of an exponential problem. But I think that the more pressing issue that veganism solves is animal welfare. But I ought not to bother with that. It's a kind of a narcissism of small differences, and I'll move on.
Do you eat almonds or drink almond milk?
30 million people in Pakistan
Do you drink almond milk?
have been affected by
Do you drink
severe...
almond milk?
Oh man, I just want to answer this question because no, I don't drink almond milk, right? I drink oat milk and soy milk, and not very often. I just want to be able to say no to that question.
severe floods.
Do you drink almond milk?
I drink plant-based milk.
You do. And do you eat avocados?
Oh,
I eat a plant-based diet.
Do you eat
And we're
avocados?
asking the government...
Do you eat avocados?
what is this line of questioning?
A leading study from...
Do you
Oxford-
eat, it's an interview. You don't just answer different questions. Do you eat avocados?
I eat a plant-based diet, which
Do
is...
you eat avocados?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
It's interesting how he says it's an interview. Like he brought her on there to hear her opinion. That's what an interview is, right? But he keeps interrupting her. He doesn't let her speak. It's like, it's an interview. I want to hear what you speak, but I'm not going to let you talk. This is ridiculous.
Great. Do you know how avocados and almonds get made?
Absolutely.
You do.
Yes.
So you realise that in California every year,
Imagine getting angry at someone for not responding to your belligerent questioning like that. It's crazy.
6 weeks, they fly in billions of bees to create your almonds
grow
and
on
avocados.
plants.
And in that process, several billion bees get murdered. This is a bee. Right? That's a bee. That, last time I checked, is a living animal. Billions get slaughtered so that you, sitting here, pontificating in between smashing up our buildings, so that you can have your almonds and your avocado. And I say to you, why don't you care about the little guys?
Can I say that the
It's total hypocrisy, isn't it? You don't care about bees being murdered.
So this is a ridiculous argument. And I can kind of simplify what he's just said here into a simple, invalid deductive argument. It's essentially billions of bees get slaughtered in the process of growing avocados. Therefore, I am justified in slaughtering cows for dairy and beef. I hope you can see that that is an invalid argument. It is a non sequitur. The conclusion does not logically follow from the premises.
Will you let me speak, Piers?
Huh?
Will you let me speak? I'd really
Why are you
like to
laughing?
respond.
It's not funny.
I'd like to respond.
Bees getting slaughtered and you giggling away.
That's funny because she actually acknowledged that she hasn't been able to answer it. She hasn't been able to get a full point out yet. We're 4 minutes in and she hasn't been able to get a full thought out without being interrupted. And he laughs at that and changes the subject. He won't even acknowledge that he's interrupting her perpetually. It's the unprofessionalism to an insane degree.
Away like it doesn't matter, whilst destroying buildings because you care so much about animals. You don't care about the little guys, do you?
I'm laughing because I'd like to answer your question, and I've been brought on the show to answer your question, so I'd really appreciate being allowed to answer.
You're never going to persuade me because I think you're a hypocrite, like a lot of vegans I've met.
Aha, that's damning. I think I'll come back to this, but that he just said everything that we need to know about him to not take him seriously on more or less any subject ever. He's just completely disqualified himself. He just admitted clearly that he is dogmatic on this subject, that he will not be persuaded no matter what can be said. All right? You cannot argue with people like that.
Sorry, that is not a move in this game. In fact, it is a disqualifying move.
You can all be as hangry as you like and not have meat. I don't believe in the science of a strictly vegan diet.
Well, okay, if that's true, you'll just have to excuse yourself from the discussion because you've declared yourself incompetent to proceed with an open mind.
Oh, two things in a row. Look at that. You will never convince me, and I don't listen to your side of the science, right? So he's admitted his stubborn dogmatism and his bias in his reading of the facts, right? So he said, you will never convince me. Also, even if you had good evidence in the form of valid science, I wouldn't listen to it. I would only listen to the meat-based science, and I won't listen to the vegan science. We won't ever convince Piers. Piers will die a carnivore unless something unbelievable happens, because he's just admitted that there is simply nothing that any rational being can do, and we ought not to engage with people like that. People like that just, you just can't. People like that are not rational. It's as simple as that.
If vegan diets worked, a lot of animals wouldn't eat other animals.
This is the bit. So I watched this interview up until this bit. I haven't seen from here on because that made me laugh. And I thought, right, I'm doing a response video. That is crazy. Let me just replay that again, what he just said.
If vegan diets worked, a lot of animals wouldn't eat other animals.
If vegan diets work, a lot of animals wouldn't eat other animals. I need to introduce Piers to a horse. Actually, you know what? I'm quite confident he's aware that a cow exists. Does Piers know that cows don't eat other animals? They're what's called herbivores, right? But that's ignoring the fact that there is biological differences between humans and non-humans. That is to say, humans and cows, or humans and horses, right? And humans and dogs, and humans and cats. Cats can't live on a vegan diet as far as I'm aware. I don't think, lions are a kind of cat, right? So they can't do it. But horses can. In fact, they must. And humans can.
Do you believe in the climate crisis?
Yes.
Well, the animal agriculture, farming and fishing is a leading cause of the climate crisis.
You know what's also a leading cause of climate crisis? Planes which carry vast amounts of your avocados and your almonds from California and fly them thousands of miles to your table here in your vegan cafes. And then they also go in trucks. And that is an environmental hazard too.
How do the animals get from the farm to the slaughterhouse? How does the animals feed and grain get from the fields to the farms? And how does the meat get from the slaughterhouse to the store? And in trucks. His alternative is by no means better. In fact, it's far worse. Meat consumption is far worse for the environment than a plant-based diet. And he's throwing the imperfect nature of the plant-based diet in the face of the vegan and saying, you're not completely perfect, therefore I can be orders of magnitude worse. Oh my goodness.
And start preaching to me about how virtuous you are about not killing animals.
She hasn't done any virtue signaling whatsoever, partly because he hasn't given her the chance to, but she certainly hasn't been virtue signaling at all. She hasn't even been preaching. She's asked him a couple of questions and then been cut off. Piers is angry at the idea of her. I think this is quite evident in that line. He's angry at what he thinks she represents, and he's not even giving her the time to figure out what she actually represents. I know this because I don't know what she represents. I haven't been able to hear her defense of animal rebellion in this piece.
I don't get it.
Can I respond?
And you're wrecking Big Ben.
Can I respond?
And Trafalgar Square. And you're breaking up Harrods.
I hear that you're very frustrated.
No, I just find it such absurd, hypocritical nonsense. How does he do?
I would really like to respond to that.
Go on then.
So a leading study from Oxford, which is the most comprehensive study on food and the climate that has ever been done before, has said that animal products, that's farming, animals and fishing, is the leading cause.
Is a bee an animal?
It surpasses. I'm not finished.
He's changing the subject, right? So she brings forward a study that says, here's a really good body of evidence that this is the best thing that we can do. The first and the best thing. It's not the only thing, but it's the best thing. And he completely ignores all of that and says, but bees.
Sorry. It surpasses.
Actually, Orla, is a bee an animal?
It surpasses.
Is a bee an animal?
Piers, Is
a bee an animal?
See, that's dishonesty. It's uncharitable and it's rude. And I think that's, it's really hard to combat that kind of thing. I don't know what Orla could really do better here. She's trying to stay on topic, and Piers is intentionally kind of dragging her all over the place. And there's not, you really can't win an argument with somebody who just admits on the outset, oh, you're never going to convince me. There's no point in continuing that argument. She almost would be better off to just say, oh, well, then the conversation's over. If I can't convince you, we're done here. See you later. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of ridiculing me for the next 5 minutes. That's probably actually the best way to conduct it.
It surpasses all.
Orla, is
plant-based options.
Is one of these things an animal?
Of course, a bee is an animal.
If a bee is an animal, why are you slaughtering them?
Why are you not talking about the most important issue that is facing our planet
because
today?
Because it's rank hypocrisy.
It is not hypocrisy.
I meet so many vegans who devour avocados and almonds and don't seem to realize.
Man, you can see her getting emotional, and it's really hard because Piers is probably accidentally kind of representing a lot of what Orla sees as wrong with the world, and he's not providing any kind of defense for his actions. He's actually just demonstrating a complete ignorance and disregard for the consequences of his actions. So it's actually, it's really sad what Piers is doing with it before you even consider just how rude he's being. And he's intentionally trying to embarrass her. He's trying to kind of lambast her in front of his audience that is on his side. And so I fully sympathize with Orla here. This is, it would be a really hard position to be in.
Both almonds and avocados are less damaging to the planet.
Oh, they're less damaging. And what about how they get flown here from California?
I think one thing Piers has made a mistake on too is that Orla hasn't made any arguments on the grounds of ethics for the sake of sentient creatures. As far as I don't think she is, but as far as I could tell, she might not have any care for bees or for animals. But she might just be like, hey, look, I want to live here. I only care about humans. This is not her argument, but it could be as far as what we've been given and as far as what Piers probably knows. I only care about humans, and I just want to see humanity continue. Therefore, we should stop farming animals because they're going to destroy our planet. But the practice of us doing that is going to destroy our planet. So do you care about the bees, Orla? It's like, no, I don't care about the bees, but I care about the planet. And so he's actually not engaging with her on her level. He's engaging with her on the ethical vegans level, which would be my level. And she's actually having a different argument with him. So he's talking past her here, probably intentionally, to be fair. But he's missed the point.
What about how they get trucked across Europe?
That study in Oxford, that is exactly what it is about.
No, anyway, look, I'm starving, and you're not going to persuade me. And my response to you destroying all these things is to have a Big Mac. Because you know what? It's a free country, it's a democracy, and I'm allowed to eat meat, and I'm certainly allowed to eat meat when someone who kills bees to feed their avocado habit minds.
What we're asking is for the government to support farmers.
I don't know how Piers can be so foolish as to accuse his guest of hypocrisy.
Because I think you're a hypocrite, like a lot of vegans I've met.
And also to say that the vegan diet is not healthy.
And we know having a strictly vegan diet is bad for you as well.
And then demonstrate that he isn't concerned with dietary health by eating McDonald's, a notoriously unhealthy food. The one who shouts hypocrisy is demonstrably a hypocrite. This is not even an original gag. I mean, Piers has stolen this from, I believe, a Fox News host who ate a steak in front of a vegan a couple of years ago.
Is
got
this
some nice dead animal, dead cow hanging on your fork?
Is this bad that I'm eating meat?
If you go hunting,
And this actually says something about Piers's character, because you know, it's one thing to think of a joke, deliver the joke, and realize, that wasn't a very good joke. It didn't land well. It kind of made me look like an asshole. Whoopsie daisies. But Piers actually saw, you know, he's almost certainly copied this joke. I'm not going to even give him the benefit of the doubt that he's unaware of this. He's seen this Fox News host do exactly what he's doing here, and it made that guy look like a complete douchebag. And he thought, oh, that's a great joke. I want to be the douchebag in that scenario. And so he's gone and played out the scenario. It's sad. I mean, okay, so I've just paused for a while to write a conclusion to concisely wrap this up. So I'm going to read this to you now. Piers Morgan, in a single segment of his show, has demonstrated his dogmatism and disregard for the scientific method when it doesn't confirm his prejudices. He uses a veil of overconfidence to mask how tenuous his thinking actually is. His unprofessional conduct is manifest. What to do about all this? Well, I'm no supporter of cancel culture, but not everyone needs to have a platform to spout their inane ignorance. We all support Piers when we give him our attention that, I argue, he doesn't deserve. So, I appeal to you all, then, that we cease to give Piers that which his success relies on, our attention. Do not stop looking for counter-arguments. Indeed, there are more intelligent and serious people who will make a case, an actual case, against veganism. Let's leave this desperate attention seeker alone in his ever-emptying echo chamber. Even if you're not convinced by veganism, what could you possibly have to learn from someone who is not open to reason?
You're never going to persuade me.
So that'll do it for this video. There's so much gish galloping that would take hours to undo the mess that he's made. But I wanted to keep this video reasonably short, so that'll do it. Thank you for watching, and be kind to animals.